Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Swanson and I'm the creator of this Reading Comprehension Curriculum Bundle, and I'm going to walk you through step by step how to get the most from your purchase. So the first part to understand is that there are 4 parts included in the bundle. The first part is your whole class lessons. These are what I call interactive read aloud lessons, and they are a 15 to 20 minute lesson that you're going to be doing with your whole class using scripted lessons that have a mentor text. So basically that means real texts, real books from your classroom or school library. And while you're reading aloud this text, you're going to be giving stopping points for your students to practice using the skill or the strategy that you're teaching. There are 101 interactive read aloud lessons, but you likely won't be using all 101 lessons. And that's because I have a scope and sequence for each grade level that breaks down which lessons are best for each of those levels. Now, of course, if you want to, you can use lessons from a different grade level, and it's totally fine. And sometimes you're probably going to want to be doing that. It really aids in your differentiation and making sure that you're meeting the needs of your class. Now, the second part is your small group lessons. I refer to these as your skill-based reading groups or your strategy groups. And basically, these are once again 101 lessons, and they match perfectly with your whole class interactive read aloud lessons. So in your small group lessons, these are for pulling together 4 to 6 students to work more intensely on a skill or a strategy that you're teaching. And in these lessons, they kind of follow the same format. They'll always start with a little warm-up where you can teach the strategy or skill, followed by a full-length passage that's differentiated. You get to choose which level fits you best. And in these passages, the students are going to be practicing the skill or strategy along with your guidance. And then the students will have an independent task that they take to do with their reading on their own. The third part is skill reinforcement. Now, I call these the daily quick reads. These are little 5-minute comprehension tasks that the students are doing completely independently. There's no need for you to teach them or give them instructions for what to do. This will be something that they can do just automatically, and everything that they need for the skill or the strategy is included there in the lesson. These are perfect for homework or daily morning work, or you can assign it for when you're pulling students into your small groups so that the rest of your class has an activity to be working on. The fourth part are your assessments. And I have included pre and post assessments for every unit included in your grade level. And these are multiple choice, some true and false, some multiple choice questions that you can do either as a traditional pencil and paper assessment or as a digital self-grading assessment. I'll talk about all of that a little bit later. So when you first download everything from Teachers Pay Teachers, you are told that there's 28 files to download and 16 easel files. We'll talk about the easel files. These are your digital files for your assessments. We'll talk about those later, but for now, you'll just click and you'll get your 28 downloadable files. And your folder will look something like this. And at first, I feel like it might look a little overwhelming, so let me show you what each of these parts are. So the very first part, these are your instructions. You'll start here. This includes your pacing guide, your mentor text titles, instructions for how to use everything. So definitely we'll look at this first. The second thing you'll see, here is your daily reading warm-ups. They're in one file. You'll click that, it'll unzip, and you'll get your daily quick reads. The third part is your interactive read aloud. These are your whole class lessons. Next is your reading groups, or reading strategy groups. And then last is your assessments. So for now, we're going to start by opening up your instructions file. And when you open those instructions, go ahead and scroll to page 6 in these instructions to see this pacing guide. This is what your pacing guide will look like. Here it is for 3rd grade. There's 3 pages of a pacing schedule. Here it is for 4th grade. And basically, I have each unit broken down by month. And you can do it this way, or you can do it however you're set up already. This curriculum is meant to be something that can be used as a standalone curriculum where you don't have to add anything else to your reading comprehension, but some teachers may be using this as a supplement to what they're already doing. And both are completely fine. You have a ton of flexibility here. So I have given you a sample pacing schedule, and you do not have to use this schedule. You can move your units around as much as you want. You'll also see on the pacing schedule that I've broken down which ones are for your grade level. So for example, this is a 4th grade pacing schedule, and these lessons for each of these units are specifically the ones targeted for 4th grade. Now you'll see that there's 9 units in total. Here's Reading Foundation, Understanding Characters, Text Features and Structure, Vocabulary and Figurative Language, Main Ideas and Key Details, Theme, Author's Prep, Story Elements, and Fluency. And all of the folders within your units are going to be organized by the unit title, those 9 unit titles. So the next place I want you to look is just kind of to show you up close what I'm talking about when I say what's in a unit. So for example, in this Understanding Characters unit, this is for 4th grade right here. These are the lessons that you'll be teaching in 4th grade. You'll see it starts with lesson 6, jumps to lesson 9, lesson 10, and that's because within your units, you'll open them up and they're labeled lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, you're not going to be using lessons 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in 4th grade. Those are probably for a different grade level. So you'll start with lesson 6 and then go to lesson 9 and then lesson 10. Now over here on your daily quick reads, you'll see that if you're using the same pacing schedule that I've recommended, then you can do your daily quick reads at the same time so that your units are lined up throughout the year. It's not a big deal if you go off of the schedule and move it around. Everything is meant to be very flexible. It may be that you're teaching something on understanding characters in October, but your daily quick reads are doing a different unit, and it's totally fine because everything is self-directed by the students when it comes to the daily quick reads. So the next part I want to show you is when you open up your instructions file, I think it's on page 11, you'll get to your interactive read aloud and strategy group lesson titles. So these are a listing of every lesson included in the entire interactive read aloud or strategy groups. And like I said, you probably won't be teaching every lesson in your grade level. So for example, when we were looking at understanding characters, I said we're going to skip lessons 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 for 4th grade. And that's because they're probably too easy. So over here, you can also see which ones are marked for your grade level. But these 3 pages will show you an outline of all the lessons available to you, and you can look through them and see if they're things that you might actually want to be doing with your students. So I want to point out that everything I did with writing this unit or this curriculum was with best practices in mind. And there's a big part of that you should start to see with how I've structured everything. And that is when you look at the gradual release model. So that's the model of modeled instruction, shared instruction, guided practice, and independent practice. So everything I've created follows that gradual release model, starting with your modeled instruction. I do it. This is your whole class interactive read aloud lesson. It's where you're showing your students how to do it. You're giving them just a little bit of modeled instruction of practicing it on their own. Then you're doing shared instruction, and this is going to be where you are pulling your students into small groups and you're giving them more independence with doing it on their own, but you're right there. You're going to start to release them with more independence and them practicing the skills. And then independent practice. This is where they're taking the skill that you have taught and they're going to apply that to their independent reading. And I'll show you, we have all of those parts covered throughout this curriculum model. So in the next few videos, I'm going to be breaking down what goes into each of those 4 parts. I hope that's been helpful.